Well, now, the Treasury's enthusiasm for maximising the tax take is, of course, in part motivated by the need to close a huge hole in the public finances. But if that goal is going to be met, then the economy will have to start growing. Today, the Cabinet met to look at the progress being made to promote growth ahead of next month's budget. Our political editor, Allegra Stratton, is here. What did they discuss?
It was a review of the growth review. So a year ago, they said, right, we need measures to get this economy going again. And ahead, sort of 3 weeks away from the budget, they had to say, right, where have we got to? In the words of one Downing Street person, it was shaking the tree on these existing measures. Can we get more out of them? What was most striking about it was that it was what we call blue on blue as well as blue on yellow. So conservative on conservative sniping as well as across the coalition. In particular, what I think is interesting, it was a line that was once something that William Hague, the Foreign Secretary, pushed, but now today the Prime Minister pushed it, which is this. At the moment, some of these big infrastructure projects and the big things that will actually make a difference to UK PLC appear to be being blocked by EU rulings. I mean, one example people have talked about to me is, for instance, a port down in Cornwall. If that got off the ground, it would be big. In other countries around Europe, they don't take these rulings as gospel. They take them more as guidance, and sometimes they ignore them. Anyway, today, the Prime Minister said to, in particular, Caroline Spellman, who's the Environment Secretary, who has to look at things like the EU Habitats Directive, he said, if there's a balance of risk and you might get something from it, then go for it. It's quite extraordinary to have a Prime Minister saying, come on, let's sort of err on the side of not caution.
Anyone else get roughed up?
The other interesting thing from my reports were that Ken Clarke, who is the Justice Secretary, weighed in on business. He made an intervention saying we're not doing enough for small businesses, which we know. The banks aren't lending to them, he said. There's too much red tape. Now, how it was relayed to me was that this is a guy who, you know, former Chancellor from pre-97, who had there not been a coalition, he would possibly have been the Business Secretary, and it was interpreted as a shot across Vince Cable's bows, which is Cable, after all, to many of the people in the room, was a business secretary who is not that keen on business.
Did the Chancellor have anything to say?
The Chancellor wanted to know what was happening to another piece of controversial legislation. We're doing the NHS tomorrow, but another thing that's been causing lots of problems is how they're reforming planning. They think that if they can unclutter the planning system, then they can also get growth going. He wanted to know from the Community Secretary, Eric Pickles, whether he was going to come forward with this. The National Trust hate it. We need to know what the government's response to that will be. Pickles said they'll come forward with something in a few weeks' time.
Allegra, thanks very much.